Did my social entrepreneurship profile on the Salmon Sisters. Founders in the background: Emma Teal Lukaitis and Claire Neaton, and they're basically two girls that grew up on fishing boats in Alaska. Their family owned a commercial fishing boat, and that's where they draw a lot of their inspiration. They both went to actually college in the lower 48, one in Washington and the other in Maine, and they're based out of Homer, Alaska. So their business model, or at least what I perceive to be their business model, it's made by fishing enthusiasts for fishing. And their big thing is to provide a wild, sustainable food source and to keep oceans and shorelines beautiful since they have given so much to our society. Uh, these two really main thing that they really focus on is just preserving wildlife, on land and in the sea, and just kind of trying to bring to light that it's something beautiful and that we need to preserve because it can provide a lot for not only people of Alaska but just people in the lower 48 and just the world in general. What they do. So they founded a fishery, which is more of a seasonal thing. They have like certain seasons for like salmon, crabs, and cod, stuff like that. And when they're not out fishing, they actually have a clothing and skincare line, and that's mainly to raise awareness of the role of wild, sustainable seafood, because like their skincare line, everything's very eco friendly, and their clothing is supposed to be like kind of like biodegradable stuff like that, made out of more natural resources than non-natural resources. Especially the clothing and the skincare, it's inspired by nautical tradition, and it's made for a community of fishermen, adventurers, and oceans enthusiasts. They have a lot of winter jackets, stuff along those lines. Very much reminds you of Patagonia, even like the textiles and stuff like that that they use. And they're actually looking to expand to making a cookbook in 2020 that will feature recipes for all the different seafoods that they catch. And they even feature local Alaskan fishermen on social media. They do this to spread the word about fishing and just to show that, somebody realizes what the work that these people are doing. Because I know personally, I love eating Alaskan king crab, and it's got to come from somewhere. And they just want to bring to light that it's an actual person just like you and I out there doing it. So they deserve some credit. Social entrepreneurship. So basically, for every item sold, they donate a can of wild salmon to the food bank of Alaska. And like this is a pretty big thing considering like Alaska, they call it the last frontier for a reason. You aren't hunting, fishing, and gathering. You're basically not eating. I mean, they obviously do have some convenience stores, stuff like that, but most people live generally pretty much off the grid with just a small, localized town. And if you don't have money or you don't do well, hunting or gathering, you're basically going to starve. Alaska has very, very harsh winters and even very harsh wildlife like grizzly bears and stuff along those lines. Um, and just for an example, like a gallon of milk is $8 in Alaska, which is kind of crazy considering we could go pick up a gallon for like a buck or two at, Sheets or just a local gas station. Income. Well, current estimates show annual revenues about around $1 million, which is actually pretty substantial considering they've only been around for a couple of years, and they're doing all of this with approximately 5 staff members. The girls themselves are very engulfed in the business, and they basically spend all of their time, working on different clothing, different product lines, and just fishing in general. And some successes that they've had to date. The Salmon Sisters have donated more than 80,000 cans to the Food Bank of Alaska, which is huge because that's basically 80,000 lives that have been affected. Basically 80,000 people that could have potentially starved, or maybe not made it another day. And recently, Neaton and Lukaitis were featured in a Microsoft commercial, and you actually might have seen this. Pretty sure it aired during the Super Bowl. Is for one of their tablets or softwares for editing. and it basically just highlighted their hands-on and mission-driven work because like this is a 30 under 30, so they're pretty successful and they're chugging along and they're really passionate about the work that they're doing. And they already started donating money to support people like Alaska Marine Conservation Council. And basically, they picked this organization because they work to help fishermen keep fishing. Their big thing is they want people to keep fishing and they want people not only in on the last frontier but in the lower 48 to start really taking notice to the oceans and trying to keep those coastlines and all that stuff beautiful. Um, so, not only helping people is one aspect of their social entrepreneurship, but also trying to preserve, wild and natural resources that, in a lot of ways, we're burning through, and that that can't continue to happen, or at least continue to happen at the rate that it is if we want to, continue living on this planet. And then here are my sources. Thanks for listening.